welcome everyone to round one of Star Wars Unlimited Locals Night at Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. If you guys are looking to play some Star Wars Unlimited, Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana is a place to check out. Thursday nights, 6 p.m., $5 minimum entry. You walk away with the promo pack and at least one pack of the current set, currently at the time of this recording, 𝐿OF. And if you place a little higher, you do have a chance to get some more packs. Well, anyways, for the 18th, I decided to challenge my locals to probably the funnest format right now Star Wars Unlimited has, and that is Trilogy. As a reminder, on the 11th, we decided to do the Padawan, which is commons only. You can use any type of leader, common base, and no specialty rare cards. Here, Trilogy is a very interesting deck building strategy. You build 3 decks, each with a different leader, a different base, and then the limit of 3 cards in your deck now limits to 3 cards throughout all 3 decks. So if you were to build a normal constructed deck and you wanted to do open fire, your deck can only contain 3 copies of open fire. In Trilogy, if you wanted to do open fire, but say 2 of your decks needed to use open fire, you can't use 3 open fire per each deck. Open fire has to be utilized by either one deck or split between the 2 of them. For instance, one deck can use 2, another deck can use 1. One deck has 2, the other has 1. Or say all 3 need it, then you could put an open fire in all 3. So that's how the deck building really works in Trilogy. It really pushes you to really think outside of the box of all your colors, of your leaders you're going to use, and all of that to really think of the correct way to really play out a deck strategy. Now, the players unfortunately didn't show a great nature of what their picks were, what their leaders were, so we can't really show you what was banned. But once you show off all 3 leaders, your opponent and you will simultaneously choose one leader to ban. That leader cannot be played throughout the entirety of the round. So you come up with 2 decks left, and then you have to win with at least both of your decks. So think of it, normally you'd play a best 2 out of 3. In this case, you play a best 2 out of 3, but you need to win with at least both of your leaders. So basically, you could go to game 3 if both sides won with 1 leader each, or 1 deck each, and then they had to then swap to their last decks. If you win, you must swap to your second deck. If you lose, you can keep with the same deck you have, or you can swap to your second one. So it's going to be very interesting with this one because I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of swapping on the loser side because, again, the losing side does have the ability to stay with the exact same deck for the other games, while the winning side will definitely be getting that swap. So this should be very interesting. Again, I actually posed this out in the Discord for Valkyrie Vault. Say, hey, everyone, let's play some Trilogy. And a lot of actually people brought Trilogy. Like I said, it's a very fun format. We played a lot at Bulldog Community Gaming, LLC, as well. If you didn't know, they do Star Wars Unlimited on Saturday nights at 6 p.m. as well. So that is a lot of fun there. But nonetheless, Trilogy is just a lot of fun if you've never tried it out. It's really good on deck building and all of that. And I can't really wait for this to be like an official format for like tournament scenes, big tournament scenes and stuff like that, because this format is a lot of fun. But with that said, let's talk about Game 1's matchup. We, of course, on the right side player have Holdo Tarkintown. So anyways, we've talked about Tarkintown about 1,000 times, a red base, a 25 health rare base from Spartan Rebellion that states on it, epic action, you could deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. And then Holdo states on it, you can tap 1, pay 1 tapper, and then you could target a resistance card on the board, and it gets +2/+2 for the remainder of the phase. She flips on 5 or 6, and she does the exact same thing on her attack, but she attacks and then gives a resistant unit +2/+2. So you're playing kind of like a resistance, like spam strategy, a resistance aggro strategy here, where you're just running out bodies with the resistance and then pumping them up with Holdo, and then just basically smashing your opponent in the face. Of course, sooner or later, she'll do the Holdo remover and smash the Radis into the Supremacy, and then we will at least say one thing about that movie. The visual effect and the visual effect of when the Holdo maneuver is triggered is beautiful, looks amazing. Other than that, that movie is still trash. All right, and then on the left side, they are starting out with their first deck being Vader Red, or Vader Force Red. So I forgot to mention, when you got your 2 decks left, to decide on what deck you're going to pick first, so you and your opponent decide simultaneously, so that way you don't have the advantage of, hey, my opponent's going to go this deck, which means I have an advantage by going this deck first. No, you pick simultaneously, which then even adds a more of a complex of thinking of, oh, what's my opponent going to be getting first? So in this case, we have Vader Force Red on the other side. This is the Showcase Vader that was given out at the Galactic Championship, so you had to go to the big prize wall and you could get it. The Luke also got its showcase as well. I have no idea what these are charging on the secondary market, because I would like to get the Luke Skywalker one. But anyways, Vader is a pay 1, tap him. If you played a villainy unit or villainy card this turn, you could deal 1 damage to one of your opponent's units and 1 damage to their base. And then the Force Red is whenever you attack with a Force unit, you could gain the Force. So that's basically what we have. We have a hyper aggro beatdown strategy with a bunch of resistance units to basically a hard-on aggro beatdown with Vader. So we have 2 aggro strategies going at each other, both using a pretty low level base. So with that said, let us get into game number 1. All right, here we go for game number 1. Looks like, I'm not exactly sure who's got it, but it looks like the Vader player was just checking the resources. It looks like Holdo's going to go first with a Resistance X-Wing, and then Kylo Ren's going to come out as well. When you play an upgrade, you can burn the Force to give him, and then draw a card. Draw 1. So this will be very nice here, because you are allowed to use the effect of Kylo here because of having that Force. So we're immediately going to restand our resources. We have a Snap Wexley in the hand, which again is a very interesting card, because he can reduce the cost of all of your resistance cards you play for the turn by 1, which is pretty nice. So anyways, both sides have finished up their resourcing. We're immediately going to move into the next phase. We're going to immediately attack. Again, the resistance X-Wing gets a +1 I think it's a +1/+1 counter on it while it is while a pilot is attached to it. So anyways, we're going to go for the Snap Wexley, like I said, which can reduce the cost of resistance units in your hand by I believe 1 or 2, but it is really neat. So anyways, we are also had Kylo Ren attack the base. We're then going to go for 𝐒𝐻𝐾47. Again, when a enemy unit is killed in battle, you deal 1 damage to your opponent's base. We're going to go for Force Throw. As a reminder, at the time of this recording, Force Throw was still legal in the format. So Force Throw here, we're going to throw 1 for because they hate that ship, so we threw 1 for the hate that ship. So we're immediately going to go for the 1 there. We did play a villainy card, but we don't have any more active resources, so we can't tap the Vader to deal 1 damage. 1 damage to our opponent's base and 1 damage to our opponent's unit, which would be nice there, because then the Resistance Squadron X-Wing can die out this turn. Again, Force Throw was really nice, especially if you were to use effects like that. So anyways, we're going to go for a Snap Wexley then effect here. Unfortunately, Snap Wexley was going to have to kill one of the other Snap Wexleys, but again, you do resolve the effect here first, and then you'll go into the keyword or the same name title, because they are both or maybe they completely misplayed the fact that they're both unique. So why exactly is one not dying over the other? I'm not exactly sure. Because there's Snap Wexley's effect. When he touches the ship, he looks at the top, and then he can grab a resistance unit. So we grab the Radis there, as we see IG-2000 drop down to the board, and then immediately able to deal 1 damage to both the Snap Wexley unit and then the 2D X-Wing as well. Unfortunately, that did burn out all resources, so there's no way for Vader to trigger his effect. And by the way, Snap Wexley on as a unit is a 2/5, so I'm not sure why he's a 2/5, but again, set 4 was the redesigned set. So anyways, here we go for Holdo to get the +2/+2 over to Snap to help it survive a little more. 𝐒𝐻𝐾47 into the base here, and then Snap can swing for 4 damage onto the attack here, or he could go swing over someone like Kylo Ren or even 𝐒𝐻𝐾47. So we're actually going to swing over the 𝐒𝐻𝐾47, knocking that out with 1 single shot. So anyways, then we are going to trigger, then we're going to spend, I believe that is, I don't know, can't remember this resistance, because of the fact that they only had 1 resource up on the idea. I think the Terminator Recruit is a resistance unit, because it does look like the resistance gear the X-Wing, the pilots wear, like in The Force Awakens. So Snap Wexley again using his effect to reduce the cost by 1, allowing you to play the Return Recruit for 1 less. So right now the board state definitely looks to be in the favor of the hyper aggro resistance player, even though I'm not sure about the unique identifier code because of having an upgrade and the unit having both being the exact same name. So anyways, we're going to go for Daring Ray. Daring Ray can kill something on the board. And then we're going to go for, of course, the resistance X-Wing, but again, Snap Wexley gets it +2/+2 plus the +1 that it has already naturally on it because of being upgraded via the resistance X-Wing. So again, I'm not exactly sure that was all correct, but again, I'm not a judge. I don't know all the rulings on unique upgrade, on uniqueness. I know that if you have 2 units with the exact same name and the exact same title on the board, they do technically would kill themselves because of the unique upgrade, uniqueness mechanic in Star Wars Unlimited. But I don't know about that with a guy on the board and then as an upgrade as well. So anyways, then we're going to touch the Darth Vader to the good old IG-2000. That is the legendary Darth Vader, which is pretty nice. So that can on attack deal damage to something on the board state, which is pretty nice as well. So right now we are seeing maybe a comeback from on the Vader side here, because there is still one more resource standing, which means they can go Vader to ping 1 damage to the base and then ping 1 damage to the Determined Recruit to knock it off of the board here. It looks like we're just going to go for the X-Wing and knock it out here so that we can immediately remove that from being in the space, just as a way to counteract it all. And then we're of course going to use the Vader effect to ping 1 damage onto the Determined Recruit, knocking it out, because the Determined Recruit only has a single health point on it as well. So after that, we're going to have to go back to the Holdo player and see what they want to do. I believe Holdo flips 1 more turn from now. Again, Vader is still technically a turn, 2 turns away from coming in. So anyways, we're going to have 10 damage, of course, go onto the base here from the IG. Again, he got hit back with 5 from swinging at the X-Wing. We're going to burn Tarkintown immediately to knock out the IG, immediately removing that from the board. Say we're going to swing in 2 damage from Kylo, and then we're going to go for the Resistance Bomber. Again, on attack, it can deal indirect damage based on its attack to your opponent. So really nice. So on attack, it deals indirect damage based on its power that it has, which is really cool, because I was playing this actually in double red Poe, because you would equip Poe to it under it, you would swing, and then thanks to having Poe's upgrade a +2 attack, then you can get an extra buff there to go into, because I believe it's a 4/5, so it goes and deals 6 indirect damage to your opponent, which is pretty nice. And then not mentioning Holdo can buff it up here with paying the 1, buffing up the Holdo, and then get +2/+2 onto itself, because again, it is a resistance unit. Vader should be 1 away, because I believe Vader is a 7 cost. Man, I haven't played that Vader in so long. I believe he's a 7 cost to epic action himself, because I know you typically would play him in green, because you need to then ramp up to get him. But anyways, Holdo should be able to come out here and get Holdo on attack to do everything. So anyways, we're going to do 2 damage on the base, 2 damage onto the Resistance Bomber here. That is going to burn everything they had. So yeah, Vader definitely will not be coming out this turn. Doesn't really matter if Vader even came out. Anyways, we're going to go for the Holdo to power up give the +2/+2 over to the Resistance, the tactical heavy bomber on the board. And then we're going to go for Kylo again. The Force really hasn't been used much on the Vader side. So anyways, we're going to swing for 5, because I forgot it's a 3/5, not a 4/5. For some reason, I thought it was a 4/5. But anyways, then we're going to swing in and then swing for the damage coming in from the bomber. And then we have, of course, the 5. Then we, of course, have the damage coming in from the, of course, the indirect damage, which, of course, is not coming in. So here comes the 5. So yeah, it's a 3/5. For some reason, I thought it was the heavy tactical bomber was a 4/5, but no, it's a 3/5. But nonetheless, there is 5 indirect damage coming down, 3 onto the Ruthless Raider, 2 onto Kylo Ren there. Again, Vader does come out next turn. Holdo, I believe, can come out this turn if Holdo wants to try to swing and maybe try to push for the game state here. So yes, Holdo is going to flip, and then we're immediately going to go for that is hilarious. We're going to go for the K turn to restand the bomber, because it's still under the threshold. We're still under the threshold. Then so what we did, we flipped. I bet the Vader player took initiative, so we flip Holdo. Holdo swing 3 damage into the base, and then Holdo's effect to give another before we swing, we use K-turn. So flip Holdo, K-turn. K-turn states that a unit that has 6 or less power on it can restand. Right now, the bomber is technically 5 because it's still recognizing the 2 extra attack points thanks to Holdo on our front side. Then Holdo swings, deals 3 damage to the base, and then we pump up the bomber by 2 more, and then the bomber swings in for basically game with as well. That would be 5, 6, 7, 7 indirect damage it has to deal back to our opponent as well. So, game 1 will go to Holdo, Tarkintown. So that does mean the right side player has to swap to their second deck, while the left side player could choose to stay with Vader or swap to their secondary, one of their other deck, and try to win game 2 with that deck. So, let's move on to game number 2. Well, folks, here we are in game number 2. Let's take a quick moment to discuss the 2 decks we have this time, and I am glad we did get a swap of the left side player's deck, so that does mean we knew exactly what both decks they were going to play here. I don't know what their third deck was. I can't remember what this player's third deck was either. But anyways, we don't care about that. All we care about are the 2 decks we are about to see from here, as we have, not only did we decide to play Holdo Tarkintown, we have Phasma 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘. Alright, so Captain Phasma states on her front side as when you play a unit with First Order and it's key as a keyword, you can then tap it to deal 1 damage to an opponent's unit. She flips on 6, and then she can attack, and then when she attacks, if you played another First Order, she could deal 8 damage to your opponent's base. Again, well, we've seen Tarkintown, another card that people really hate for the other rare base people hate for Spark of the Rebellion, ECL or Energy Conversion Lab, that states on it, epic action, you can play a unit with a cost 6 or less, paying its resources, and give it ambush for the turn. So this is just a hyper aggro, play First Order cards, punch your opponent in the face with First Order cards. Then, of course, over here we have Force Yellow. So typically you don't see you see Gar Yellow, just a solid yellow base. This is Gar Force Yellow, so we have a completely different deck strategy here. So it plays the exact same way as we would see with other Gar Saxon builds. Again, all your upgrade units get a +1/+0 from Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon flips over for 6, 4, 7. That then states on his backside, all upgrade units, including himself, get a +1/+0 because it's all friendly units, not all other friendly units. And then on his backside, he says, when defeated, you may return an upgrade from that unit back to your hand. So you just cycle back the upgrades you want back to your hand. Anyways, then we have the Force Yellow base, which was similar to the Force Red base. It's the common base that states when you attack with a friendly Force unit, gain the Force. So we have a very interesting pseudo-control a good control matchup over here with Gar Force Yellow against another aggro strategy in Phasma 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐾. So with that said, let's get into game number 2. All right, here we go. So Gar's going to start out. We're going to see Carrots, and then we're going to see the Bunker Defender, and then we're going to immediately after that, we're going to see the First Order Stormtrooper. Again, remember, Phasma can tap herself for free as a reminder, because Phasma doesn't have to pay a cost to tap herself as long as you played a First Order unit that turn. So Carrots, once again, is a when defeated, it may use the Force, give a unit -2/-2 for the face. So anyways, the Bunker Defender is, of course, a Sentinel, as we see a Asteroid Sanctuary, resting down the First Order Stormtrooper, and then giving a shield to Karis. As the Bunker Defender attacks, the Bunker Defender only gets Sentinel as long as you have a space unit on the board. So anyways, we're going to go for Karis. Karis attacking the Energy Conversion Lab for 2. We're going to see a Knight of Ren coming down here. Again, the yellow base getting the Force tag because of this. So anyways, we're going to go for Phasma. Phasma to ping 1 damage onto the base here, and then we're mainly going to pass. I thought it was only units, but I think her backside is units. I know her front side, I believe, is bases. But nonetheless, just pinging 1 extra more damage onto the base here is pretty nice, as we now have that Knight of Ren down. Ooh, scary. Yeah, scary that a 3/4/4 exists in the game in Command Villainy. Definitely really good. Again, I do want to play Phasma. My problem is I'm missing Kylo's High Silencers from set 2. I got 1 in my collection. I really just don't want to pay, especially because we are, at the time of this recording, I am recording this on the 15th of October 2025. So that means that we are getting ever closer to rotation. And I mean, sure, we do have, we have the entirety of the meta for Secrets of Power. But again, I'm not really sold on just picking that one just yet. Anyways, we're going to go for a surprise strike on the 𝐒𝐻. 𝐒𝐻 is going to swing over at the base and looking to hit it for 6 damage here. The Knight of Ren is going to then swing for 4. I would have thought maybe it would have been better to send 𝐒𝐻 after the Knight of Ren and pop the shield and have 𝐒𝐻 kill the Knight of Ren, so that the 4/4 is on the board here. We're going to immediately swing for 2 because it looks like the 𝐒𝐻𝐍𝐶 player is just out of everything. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot. 𝐒𝐻 should have a +1 there, so she should have, which is how they did the 6 damage here. So anyways, we're going to swing the Bunker Defender. We're going to have the 1 experience damage, the 1 indirect damage come from, remember, the First Order Stormtrooper that states on attack when defeated, deal 1 indirect damage. Indirect damage immediately ignores shield, so it goes right onto the shields. As we see General Pride come down, as well as Kylo's Time Silencer in the sky, which does mean the Bunker Defender does now have Sentinel because there is now a space unit in the arena. So anyways, General Pride is on attack. If you have the initiative, he can deal indirect damage to your opponent, which is pretty nice. So again, you have to have the initiative to trigger General Pride here, which I believe it should have gone to the 𝐒𝐻𝐍𝐶 player without a doubt. So anyways, we're going to go for the Shin Flurry, which allows you to pay 1, and then you can play a unit out of your hand, and then it gets ambushed, and then the first 2 damage it takes for the turn, it doesn't take that. So anyways, Shin Flurry is going, I believe and then of course you have to pay for the whatever you play out with Shin Flurry. So anyways, we're going to swing in, we're going to kill General Pride. General Pride only has 2 attack points on it, so Axe Wolf does not take any damage back. We're going to swing at the base with the, of course, why didn't the Bunker actually Defender stop that? The Bunker's Defender should have had Sentinel there because there's a space unit in the sky. I think they actually are catching it right now. I think they are catching it right now. Axe Wolf should have actually swung at the Bunker Defender because I'm not couching it as well. Like, Axe Wolf should have swung at the Bunker Defender because of he has Sentinel because there's currently a space unit on the board. So we're gonna go all the way back to that. Lucky enough, a lot of the locals here are very friendly on a lot of that. Because technically that play can't work because the Bunker Defender actually is going to be able to stand there. So anyways, 𝐒𝐻 is going to go first. 𝐒𝐻 is going to smash out the Bunker Defender there to deal the to knock it out. And then we're going to go for the Shin Flurry to then bring out our guy. Then we're going to kill off General Pride, so General Pride doesn't deal that indirect damage at us. And then we're going to go for Kylo's Time Silencer in the sky, but I really don't think the guard player is going to be walking out of this one. I think the aggression has just been too much for them, and they haven't been able to get a strong enough control presence on the board. As we see a flip for Captain Phasma. Oh, she flips for 5. She's 4/6 as well. So anyways, we're going to ECL out the green Captain Phasma. I believe gives every other First Order unit onto a +1/+1. And then we're going to swing the leader Captain Phasma, and then we're going to go for Captain Phasma's effect because we played a First Order unit for the turn. And then First Order units per turn, they're just talking about everything about Captain Phasma, and then of course Captain Phasma will swing at the base here, and then that's basically going to be the game because she'll get the buff from the other Captain Phasma, then her effect can go off as well. Not mentioning even if this player wanted to claim the initiative next turn, there's no way for a 𝐒𝐻 to immediately remove out this board state here. You had a 4/4, a 2/1, a 5/6, and then a 4/6. So the aggression side of the Disney sequel trilogy wins out with Holdo, Tarkintown, and the Phasma ECL beating out Vader, Force Red, and Gar Force Yellow. I want your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Tell me your thoughts overall on Trilogy. Have you tried out Trilogy? I've played a lot of Trilogy. I absolutely love this format. And not mentioning that we did finally get a confirmation after this recording that Trilogy is played with the current ban list in place. So you don't have to worry about Jango Fett. You don't have to worry about Boba Fett or TDR or Force Throw. All those cards are banned in Trilogy. Now, it doesn't matter if Trilogy starts becoming something that you can play in the expanded format, because all those cards will be legal in Trilogy and expanded formats. Now, again, like I said, I'm not 100% sure sold just yet on the expanded format. I think there needs to be some balances over there. This just can't be the Wild West. I do think maybe there is a point where we enter this point where, like I said, cards in Star Wars Unlimited have to become trivialized, like the big 6 for Magic that can never come off any list because they're absolutely broken. I do think we may enter that point of that we're going to have these cards that absolutely cannot be played in Trilogy. But again, we don't have to worry about that until we get a Lawless Time, the 7th set of Star Wars Unlimited, which rotates us out of Spark, Shadow, and Twilight. Then we have to worry about what Expanded is going to look like as a format. But nonetheless, let me know your thoughts. Also, let me know your thoughts on all of the gameplay. And while you're commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mono Dragons TCG.